Hi guys, so basically this is my YouTube channel, my name's Owen, and I will be reviewing both movies and TV shows of old and new. So, when I mean new movies, I mean like new releases, so in this case you'll have like Spider-Man Homecoming, Captain Underpants, the Emoji Movie. I know they all sound like rubbish movies and they probably are going to be, but I will review them anyway. I will also be doing TV shows like Game of Thrones, Reign, which is a new show that I will be covering shortly after the first season, which I've just started watching. Well, it's not a new show, it's a new show for me because I've just started watching it on Netflix, and I will give my full opinions later on. But in this video, I will be focusing on Spider-Man Homecoming. I will start off non-spoilers, and then I will give people a minute or a few seconds to either mute or kind of turn the video off, but for when I analyse spoilers. But hopefully as my channel progresses I'll get people I go to the cinema with to come into these videos, so then it's not just my opinion. I will also be doing not just basic film reviews, but as the channel progresses I will be doing various shows and series. Like I will be looking at Rotten Tomatoes reviews, and if they are a high if they are known as rotten and I don't think they're worthy of being rotten, I will do a video on that. Or if they're too highly rated and I think they're not very good, I will also do a review on that. But to start off with, to christen it, I'm going to start with Marvel's latest movie, because on this channel I will be focusing primarily on sci-fi, fantasy and superhero, but I will also be doing historical and other documentaries. But Spider-Man Homecoming. Okay, so the general sort of plot line of it. Spider-Man, it carries on from the Spider-Man we saw in Captain America Civil War, played by Tom Holland. He, after appearing in Civil War, he goes to Iron Man, and Iron Man sort of mentors him, and he wants nothing more, Peter Parker wants nothing more than to be an Avenger. But Iron Man basically says in order to be an Avenger you need to prove yourself you can handle Queens or Brooklyn or the streets of New York, and why don't you just try being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? So Spider-Man's doing all that, but he finds it kind of aimless as well, and he's trying to prove himself to Happy Hogan, which is played by Jon Favreau, if you remember from the first three Iron Man films. He's sort of the liaison between Tony Stark and Spider-Man. But on top of all of that, Spider-Man's got to deal with the pressures of high school. Now, the movie directors did say they wanted to make it a good high school movie, and in my opinion, they've succeeded. But in the process of all of this, he's got to deal with a villain played by Michael Keaton, the Vulture, and in anticipation of the Vulture, I went all the way back, comic book wise, using Marvel Unlimited. You should definitely get that, it's very good. If you've got you can get a month's free trial of it. And I read the original issue of Spider-Man where the Vulture first appeared in 1963, and based on that, I would have to say that Michael Keaton's Vulture is a very good Vulture. Now, every time I see him, I can't help but think either Batman or Birdman, because when he's got the wings on, you do think Birdman. If a lot of you don't know what Birdman is, it was a very good nominated Oscar film that was based actually on his struggles with Batman. But so that's basically the general plot now. Now, what did I think of it? I thought it was very good. Compared to something like the Amazing Spider-Man films, they were very good, because I've seen both of the Amazing Spider-Man films, just to give my take on that. The first Amazing Spider-Man I thought was alright, it was quite good. It did a good job of introducing the Lizard, not as good as the 1990s Spider-Man show, but I digress. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I didn't like it. I have cousins who made me watch it with them, and because I didn't go to the cinema to go see it because I didn't want to, so I bought it for them on DVD and I watched it, and I have to say I was right, I didn't like it. It felt like there were too many villains crammed in there. You had Electro, you had Harry Osborn, and he's dealing with his sort of goblin disease. Now, I know I said many villains, but and that's only two I know. But they also had a cameo for Black Cat in there, and it just felt all too cramped. And oh, the Rhino, don't get me started on the Rhino end credit scene. That was just awful. But I digress again. So as you can see, the compared to the Amazing Spider-Man films, oh my god, Spider-Man: Homecoming's good. Um, the original Spider-Man films, I've only ever seen the Tobey Maguire ones I'm referring to. I've only ever seen the first one, and I have to say the first one was good. Um, but as far as Spider-Man: Homecoming goes, it has that very much that Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of feel to it, and I must admit, Marvel do something with their movies, and I think what's different about this compared to the other Spider-Man films is there's that element of youth into it, in the sense of, with the Amazing Spider-Man films, you had Andrew Garfield playing Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield is a fine actor, but when you got a 20 or 30 something year old man trying to play a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, it doesn't really work. Whereas Tom Holland is playing a 15-year-old, and I think himself is 17, I want to say. So yes, there's 2 years, but it's more realistic, and he feels very much like Spider-Man, constantly quipping. Even when he's in brutal danger, he's still making the quips, whereas I felt that in the Amazing Spider-Man films, there was that kind of, he was quippy one minute, but then he was all dark and serious the next. And I know a lot of people think it's really good. It's got like 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I would completely agree with that. I think what makes the movie for me, though, is Michael Keaton's the Vulture. He is just a phenomenal actor. He plays the character really well, but you can get his motivations, which I'll get into in the spoilers, but you feel that you can understand, it's always good when you can sympathise in part with the villain, like in some great movies like, I'm trying to think, Loki, you can kind of sympathise with him, well I can, in the first Thor movie. His dad did promise him the throne, and he didn't get it. He kind of separated that divide from the beginning, from when they were kids. Or even in some Disney films, you kind of sympathise with, I sympathise with kind of Scar. I know that's going to be a bit of a stretch, but like living in his brother's shadow and kind of being kind of having to deal with this little bratty kid, I understand that. So it's good when you can sympathise with your villains. You can see why he's doing it, because yes, he's a villain, he's committing crimes, but he's still got good motivation behind it. It's for his family. It's for his family. So you can obviously clearly see that, and it's just it's very good, and it addressed my concerns, because I had basically two concerns into the movie going in. The two concerns I had were, one, how they were going to address the whole Iron Man thing, because I thought, oh god, is it going to be like a really irritating Iron Man cameo where it's like he's in there like every 5 minutes doing quips and Iron Man. No, but it's not that. He's given the necessary amount. I do personally believe he's given adequate screen time. He's not in it very much, but that's all you need. You don't need him popping in and out, constantly coming in, constantly doing everything. He's just there as like a father figure, and he plays that father figure very well. And you can understand why he says, "I'm trying to be like my dad," and you can see why he has issues with his dad. But while to Spider-Man, Tony may come off as a jerk, and he does very well, you can also see his own personal motivations behind that. My other concern was the whole high school thing, because in the very first trailer you had that pop culture movie, and I thought a pop culture song, and I thought that was going to make the movie really dated, but it didn't, surprisingly. And I thought it was going to be like, because this director, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's only done like high school kind of chick flick movies before. So I thought that's what it was going to be, because he said he wanted to make it into a high school movie, so I thought it was going to all be about his romance with MJ, but it wasn't. The high school stuff when it was there was good, and it added more to Peter's character like we've seen in the comics, but we've never seen in the movie. So I thought that was good. And yeah, and without getting into spoilers, there's not much I can say really, other than go watch it, and it's really good. So I'm gonna give a few seconds now for you to click off if you haven't seen the movie, and then I'll go into spoilers.